got a article here from Blacklock's reporter, um, saying that the federal government has put a gun buyback program at 340, let's say $3 million, so a little over a third of $1 billion. Everything the federal government has said about any of their gun legislation has been wrong, particularly when it comes to cost estimates. They said it would cost 60 million, then it ballooned, and then it ballooned, and then it ballooned. And here is the most important part of all of this, is that the numbers they are relying on to pin this down at $343 million are 13 years out of date. And so in the last 13 years, people have purchased AR-15s. Now they know about those, but there are a lot of guns that went directly from non-restricted, as in non-tracked. The government doesn't know who has them, doesn't know if you have them, doesn't know who sold them to you, because they've never been a problem until Justin Trudeau decided they were a problem. They have gone from regular, unregistered, non-restricted firearms right across to prohibited. And that happened to thousands of models. And so when you have no clue how many of these things are in the country, how do you even pin down a cost estimate? They're just making it up as they go. This is going to cost over $1 billion. I would suggest $2-3 billion at the very least. And then you've got policing put into this. What would you rather have, Canadians? Hospitals? How about more cops on the streets to deal with the actual bad guys than to come along and take a fancy Brazilian 410, which I wouldn't use to shoot a duck. It's not high powered enough, from the hands of a collector, which is what Mark Carney and the Liberals think is what's going to put a dent into the rising crime rates and the severity of crime in this country.
Well, what I found really interesting about this article, and it's about 4 paragraphs down, that there are additional costs to this program relating to the destruction of firearms by a third-party destruction services provider. I mean, this is craziness. So they've had to hire now also a third-party destructor of firearms. And they say, yeah, go ahead, Sheila.
Well, and here's the thing. They're having a tough time getting people to want to do business with them here, because the firearms owners in this country are a very well organized bunch. They can move a lot of things by the numbers. The shooting sports is the national sport of this country. We don't like to talk about it. Why? Because the feds will come and grab your guns. You don't want to talk about what you have, because you never know when you end up on the wrong side of a prohibition order. But by the numbers, more people are engaged in the shooting sports as licensed firearms owners than play organized hockey. That's a huge number of people, but they're quiet because they're tired of the attacks of the federal government. And so that's why I know this number is way too low. In 2021, they said it could be upwards of nearly $800 million. Again, triple that, quadruple that. But my point is, you are going to have a hard time finding contractors willing to do this work for the federal government, because firearms owners will organize against you.
Yeah. And I mean, repeatedly, this doesn't do anything to stop gun-related crime. Like, this is the whole crux of the issue, is that this is just a complete waste of resources, of money, of time, for an issue that will still continue unabated, because targeting legal, lawful, law-abiding gun owners is not going to do anything to curb the illegal smuggling of illegal guns. Like this, it's just, again, part of some sort of fantasy world that we live in under the Liberal and NDP reign of terror, thinking that this will do anything to stop gun-related violence and crime.
We are going to be a sanctuary place for firearms owners fleeing persecution in the rest of the country in Alberta. We've got Ruby Sahota, who's Secretary of State for nonsense. She's responsible for combating crime. And Natalie Provo, who is the Secretary of State for Nature, if I recall correctly, while being one of the people who goes after legitimate conservationists like firearms owners. They are in the House of Commons, or they were, alleging that it's licensed firearms owners, the people who jump through the hoops to follow all the rules, the ever-changing landscape of rules, who have to know the rules better than even the police, because if we don't know the rules, we'll go to jail. Anyways, these two loons allege that it's licensed firearms owners who are the real problem with violent crime in this country and not the criminals. So this is, we've got the Conservative MP from Quebec, Dominique, Vienne, talking about this in the House of Commons, and then she has the misfortune, I believe, of being oh no, it's just a statement from her. I was going to say she has the unfortunate problem being addressed by those two Looney Tunes, but she's pointing out the history of statements from Ruby Sahota and Natalie Provo.
Feminicides since the beginning of the year in Quebec. 5 in 5 weeks, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, a woman was killed in Vaudreuil-Dorion. She was in a situation where there was a toxic relationship, a violent relationship. The system abandoned her like so many others before her. When will the Prime Minister fix the errors of his predecessor, Mr. Trudeau, who contributed to leaving these women without protection?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, every Canadian should feel safe in their community, especially in their home. We will automatically revoke gun licenses for individuals convicted of intimate partner violence offenses.
That's already a thing.
Subject to protection orders. We are delivering on the recommendations made by the Mass Casualty Commission related to community safety, policing, and countering gender-based violence. The implementation of the National Action Plan to combat gender-based violence continues to support the work of building a Canada free of gender-based violence that supports victims, survivors, and their families, no matter where they live.
These people are so out to lunch.
The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Les Etchemins-Lévis. The facts are the facts, Mr. Speaker. Under the Liberals, violence against women keeps going up. By maintaining Justin Trudeau's bills C5 and C75, this government is choosing to protect criminals instead of victims. In the meantime, women are living in fear. This government needs to look at itself and understand that it is responsible for the problem. When will the Prime Minister act, change these laws, and ensure the safety of all women in Canada, Mr. Speaker? The Honourable Secretary of State for Nature. Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague for her question. I'm very emotional rising in the House on this subject.
Oh, gosh.
I'm standing here as part of this Liberal government because up until March this year, the Liberal government worked tirelessly to reduce the danger of firearms for Canadians by investing in that area and by banning assault weapons. There's more that needs to be done. We need to go as far as we can. That's what a government does when it fights crime.
They're not fighting any crime, though. No. That's the whole point. And
they're creating a class of criminals. Like they're creating a class of criminals and then dealing with that class of criminals instead of taking $1 billion and putting it into policing border issues. Where do you think all the illegal guns are coming from? Yep. There's two ways. The homeowners and firearms owners who are robbed, they're the victims of a crime, not the perpetrators of a crime, and yet you're punishing them. And across the porous border. So let's invest in policing and invest in the border, which would also deal with the whole fentanyl problem too. But we don't want to do that. We're going after duck hunters and wondering why people are less safe.
I wonder what the Minister of the Environment thinks of the third-party destruction services provider and whether or not that will be very environmentally friendly.
I am perturbed that Natalie Provo, formerly of Police Souvient, the largest gun-grabbing organization in this country, is now the Secretary of State for Nature, which would make her responsible for conservation and hunting, when she has just an absolute deranged hate on for the people who care for the animals of this country and making sure that appropriate populations of these animals exist at no cost to the taxpayer. It boggles the mind. It's such an insult, but.
Well, and it's highlighting the pattern of the Liberals. What's the public safety minister guy? I never get his last name right. Ash. What is it, Sheila?
Gary.
Sorry.
Ananda Sangari. I just enjoy saying his name as much as I dislike him.
He didn't even know the difference between the different styles of firearm that are banned or not banned. These people, how do they even get these portfolios when they quite literally have no idea what they're talking about?
Right. I guess they get them by being just loyal soldiers, right? I mean, besides the fact that Gary Ananda Sangari doesn't know his portfolio, he was a lawyer for terrorists. Like what are you doing at public safety, Gary? And the fact remains he can fundraise a lot from the Tamil community. So that's why he's rewarded with a cabinet position, regardless of his idiocy and his ties to known terror organizations like the Tamil Tigers.
Let's face it, Canada's economy isn't heading in the right direction. Inflation's eating away your savings, and government debt is out of control. No politician is going to fix that overnight. With Guildhall Wealth, you can hold real physical gold and silver inside your RRSP. It's a time-tested way to protect your retirement and take back control of your wealth. Call 1-877-8-SILVER or visit guildhallwealth.com/rebel to request your free investor kit. And hey, make sure to mention Rebel News.